Hey, everybody, welcome in the building. I hope you guys are having a beautiful, beautiful week so far. The transfer window, as you can see from the title, just from what's been going on in the last 24 hours, it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon for Liverpool Football Club. I thought we would have slowed down, right? We heard that after getting the Frimpong, the Kirkez, the Verts deals over the line, that we would now look to sell players and then we would go back into the transfer market. But guys, it looks like, we have that definition of opportunistic. It looks like right now we're seeing that we cannot lose out on these two strikers that we know would be big time difference makers for Liverpool. Our top target obviously is Alexander Isak, but that's going to be a very difficult deal to get over the line because Newcastle don't want to sell. He's still young. He has 3 years left on his contract, so they won't be forced to sell unless I think Isak forces the move himself and he hands in a transfer request, for example. But I believe that the reason we've contacted Frankfurt and the reason why we're really getting in that race now for Hugo Ekitike, the striker, 23-year-old, who just turned 23, by the way, I just checked, from Frankfurt, is because Newcastle have been moving and advancing on him. So I believe our point of view right now is, yes, we want Isak. Of course we want Isak. He's our number one. And we're going to try to get Isak to help kind of force that move. Because like I said, I don't think it happens unless Isak forces some kind of hand. Because why would Newcastle want to sell, right? They're in no position to have to sell unless the player is unhappy. Therefore, I believe that the reason we're seeing this bomba, and I'm going to read you guys the article for those of you that haven't seen it yet. Liverpool have contacted Frankfurt's over the possible signing of Hugo Ekitike. That means having all the details. We know the money's there because all the most reliable sources in terms of David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano have said that we are ready to pounce if Newcastle are willing to sell Isak. And when we say pounce, we're not talking about small money. We're talking about 120, 130 million pounds. That would be breaking the transfer, our biggest transfer fee again after we already did it for Florian Wirtz, so clearly it shows we don't just mean business, we mean historical business in this window, you guys. So it is very, very exciting. Nice to see you, Joseph, who says, hi, Leo, this is so amazing. So what if we don't get Isak? Ekitike is amazing as well. Yeah, guys, that's exactly kind of the energy and what I want to try to get across to you guys as well here is like, it's going to be an incredible piece of business for us either way. Either we go for the ready, proven, but record, major money for Alexander Isak, or like I said, we have our plan B. It's so clear to see that Hugo Ekitike is a player that we've been interested in for a long while now. We've been interested in him for a long while, and now, we're getting all the details on it. But my guess is that we're trying to use this as a kind of power move to say to Newcastle that if they don't let us advance on the Isak deal, that we'll move forward on Hugo Ekitike, that will move forward on their primary target. You know what I mean? And so I think the decision Newcastle will have to make, and this is why I still think the us getting Isak is possible, and I'll explain why. Joseph, by the way, just said, how much will Ekitike cost? He would cost around, my guess, 70 to 80 million pounds, probably, because Newcastle got pretty close apparently to the fee they're looking for, and they bid 64.9 million pounds. That was rejected by Frankfurt. So my guess is anything between 70 to 80 million pounds probably gets it over the line that Frankfurt would have to accept. But here's what I was saying. From the Newcastle perspective, let me know what you guys think. And get voting in the poll as well, because I'm asking you guys, who do you think will sign? I didn't ask who do you want to sign, because I know if I said, who do you want to sign, you guys would say Isak. I said, who do you think will sign if you had to predict? Okay, I'm not asking who you would rather sign. Anyways, I think the predicament that Newcastle are in is either they sell Isak to Liverpool this summer, and it seems like we'd be willing to fork out between 120 to 130 million pounds. That's the fee it would take to get Isak, and we're ready for it. We're ready to break the record again, right? The transfer record fee. Here's the thing, though. If they decide they don't want to sell, then there's a chance that next summer they'd have to sell for a lot less because the player would have 2 years left on his contract. And there's a chance that he might not be happy because he's not able to make that upgrade move to Liverpool. You know, as great as Newcastle is as a football club, and I think the project that's going on at Newcastle is really, really impressive. And I could see Newcastle raising it up a gear even more so next season. And they already had a great season last season. You can't dispute the fact that Liverpool's a step up from Newcastle. We're Premier League champions. Look at the history. We're going to go for the Champions League next season. He has a chance to play with Wirtz and Salah. Like, with all due respect to Newcastle fans, and I have a lot of respect for Newcastle fans because I think that fan base is unbelievable. One of my dreams is to go to St. James Park, actually. It's probably my number one bucket list for an away day in the Premier League. But you can't dispute that it's an upgrade, if you get what I'm saying, to go to Liverpool. So they wouldn't allow him to kind of make that move. If they were to sell him, like I said, for the 120 to 130 million pounds, then the good thing for them is it would put them in a really good position for PSR, and it would mean they could reinvest that money into their squad. So they could get Ekitike, who's even younger. Like I said, he only just turned 23. Very young, Ekitike. So they would have their striker right away, and they would still have 50 to 60 million to spend in another position. You know, probably a defender. So that's what I mean. Newcastle, I think the reason why I can see the Isak deal happening is because they don't want to lose on their top target, Ekitike, because we're ready to swoop in. And at the same time, it could put them in a really good position for PSR and still bring a top player in Hugo Ekitike and have all this leftover money. So that's why I think there's a chance they let Isak go. But again, if they don't, then we also, it looks like, are so serious in the Ekitike move. And of course, he would choose us over Newcastle. That, like, again, we're Premier League champions. We're in a very, very strong position. Again, you ask Ekitike, would he rather play with Gordon and Elenga or Wirtz and Salah? I think you probably have your answer very quickly. You know what I mean? Again, with all due respect to Newcastle. But that's kind of the positions that we're in, you guys. And I think it's going to be very, very it's going to be very interesting to kind of to see how this unfolds, you know. But can I just get W's in the chat though right now, guys? Can I get some W's for Edwards, for Hughes, for the way this football club is acting in this window? Because even if, and I know some of you will be a bit disappointed because now in the last 24 hours it felt like the Isak deal was possible. Even if we end up with Hugo Ekitike, bro, do you realize that still the transfer window we'd be having? I want straight W's. Even if the Isak deal doesn't happen, we seriously are considering Hugo Ekitike. So we could be talking about a window where we get Kerkez, Frimpong, Wirtz, and Ekitike. And I think we might sign another because of how many outgoings there would be. So we're making big time moves, you guys. Whether, like I said, we don't know right now whether it's going to be Isak or Ekitike. But the fact that it's one or the other, like I said, shows we freaking mean business. And I'm proud of the way this football club is behaving in this window. You know, we don't often have windows like these, but we're really showing intent to the rest of the league. And if you hear other fan bases, Arsenal fans, City fans, United fans, they're very scared of Liverpool. Very scared of Liverpool. And that's what we like to hear, because Liverpool's the biggest club in England. And now we're behaving like the biggest club in England off the pitch. You know, with the players we're looking to bring in. Natalia, nice to see you in the building. He says, hi, Leo. Liverpool is getting ready for next season, making big signings. Oh, yes, indeed. Oh, yes, indeed. Joseph says, yeah, people complaining that we're probably not getting Isak, even though Ekitike is such a quality striker. I've wanted him or Isak for ages. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think we can complain that much. You guys have to be realistic as well. If Isak doesn't force or doesn't say that he wants to leave, like basically handing in a transfer request, Newcastle has all the negotiating power here. You know what I mean? So as much as Liverpool's going to try everything they can, and clearly we are right now, look at the pressure we're putting. At the end of the day, like I said, he has 3 years left on his deal. I just checked that. That was confirmed by The Athletic. 3 years left on his deal. And so there's nothing more we can do than saying we're willing to pay a record fee. You know what I mean? So if we don't end up getting Isak, you can't fault the club because they will have tried everything they can to do it, to make it happen. You know what I mean? And like you said, to have Ekitike as a backup option is fantastic. You know what I mean? Again, it shows the intent from us, you guys. It really shows our intent. If we don't get Isak, why don't we go for Julian Alvarez? Shahul, he's one that's completely off the table. So basically, the Atletico Madrid president came out saying that they don't want to sell him for any price. Again, he joined Atleti. He went to Madrid a year ago to Atletico Madrid. So he still has years left on his contract. He's very happy in Spain. I think probably the Spanish lifestyle is more suited to him as a South American than England. You know, he was obviously in Manchester before, so he knows what it's like to live in the north of England. I don't think that's happening at any price. You know what I mean? So Alvarez, I agree, would have been an elite signing. He's an elite striker, one of a kind, and he would have suited us. But there's no way that happens. Again, because the player is happy and the club is in no position to have to sell. And that goes back to what I was saying with Newcastle. Newcastle are in no position to be forced to sell. However, if Alexander Isak forces a hand, which I think is possible, he's going to be turning 26 next season. And I think he's going to want to play for one of the big clubs because he's at that elite level. And that's my personal prediction. I'm not giving up on Alexander Isak just yet because, like I said, if he tells Newcastle that he wants to leave, they're not going to want to keep an unhappy player around. So keep an eye out on all of this, you guys, because it's not over by any means. LFC, thank you very much for the super chat, who says, if we sign Isak, we would win everything, bro. Imagine the treble would be incoming. I mean, I don't even care about the treble, bro. I just want... If you're telling me there's a season where we can win the Premier League and the Champions League, I would die. If we do that, those two, I would die of ecstasy. There's no bigger highs than that, you know? And if we have the likes of Mohamed Salah, Verts, Alexander Isak, Cody Gakpo, Szoboszlai, bro, like, Jesus, how is anyone stopping that? And then you think about the attacking fullbacks we've brought in Kirkez and Frimpong, bro. The style of football next season would be like, the amount of goals we'll score will just be unbelievable. We'd become the most thrilling team to watch in the world with Barcelona. Elena, nice to see you in the building. I'm doing well. How are you? Caden, thank you very much for the super chat, who's been a channel legend member for 17 months. Wow, thank you, brother. Who says, hey, Leo, I got a Danish girlfriend now, and she's very beautiful. She keeps on texting and calling me. Rest in peace, Diogo and Andre, 20 forever. Beautiful, bro, and I'm so happy for you that you got a Danish girlfriend. Congratulations, bro. Hope you two have a very long relationship, as Elena just said. Absolutely. What's your ideal lineup for next season? Zach, I can talk about that once the window's over, but right now there's still so many uncertainties and so many incomings and outgoings left. You know what I mean? So many left. Lucci says, hi Leo, one thing I've loved about this window is the ambition our club has shown and the willingness to compete for big trophies next season. Absolutely, I completely agree with you. The show of intent and the fact that we're scaring every Premier League rival, I just think that's beautiful. It's so beautiful to see. Charlotte, nice to see you in the building, who says, LMAO, what an insane message about the girlfriend. It's all good vibes in the building right now. Theo, nice to see you in the building as well. OG, who says, I'm on the train right now. What's the news? You know what? I'll just read you through because it's an article from David Ornstein in The Athletic, who said, quote, Liverpool made contact with Eintracht Frankfurt over Hugo Ekitike over a possible move, who is also being targeted by Newcastle. Newcastle have previously put in an offer of around 75 million euros or 64.9 million pounds, which was turned down by Frankfurt. They've now received an approach from Liverpool too, as the Premier League champions work to bolster their attack with a new striker. It comes amid Liverpool's pursuit of Newcastle forward Alexander Isak. That's the news we got yesterday. The Anfield club have communicated their interest about doing a deal in the region of 120 million pounds for the 25-year-old Sweden international. So that's obviously on Isak. And then it says Newcastle are trying to land Ekitike this summer for a third time following failed attempts in January and the summer of 2022. Wow. Guys, again, this shows how good Hugo Ekitike is. The fact that Newcastle, and again, I never wanted to disrespect on this live or ever Newcastle, because for me, they're a club I really respect. And I think the recruitment has actually been incredible since the new ownership. I think they've gone really intelligent deals over the line, and they're a top team. Like for me, they're one of the favorites for getting top 4 next season. Like genuinely, I rate their squad that highly. I rate Eddie Howe that highly. But you see the fact that it says Newcastle tried to land Ekitike this summer for a third time. So previously they were already trying to sign him in January, and they were already trying to sign him in the summer of 2022. So for those of you saying that Ekitike isn't a great player, the fact that a club like Newcastle, whose recruitment is really, really elite, I would say, in recent years, shows how good of a talent Ekitike is. You know what I mean? And sure, I see some people mentioning in the chat, what about his goal contributions, this and that? It's not just about that. He's a really well-rounded player. He's really good on the ball, and he did step up after Marmoush left, you know? So I would be very, very happy if we got Hugo Ekitike as well, you know, especially given how much I trust Edwards and Richard Hughes at this stage, where if they were willing to fork out, like I said, I do believe the type of fee we'd have to pay to get it over the line would be between 70 to 80 million pounds. I think if we're spending that much on a player, we know that he'll perform. You know what I mean? We're very confident at least that he'll suit our system, that he'll do well in the Premier League and all the rest. You know, and that's why I would fully back him as a signing if it's Hugo Ekitike instead of Alexander Isak. You know. Did you see Darwin to Napoli fell? Yes, I did, Footy. I actually made a video about that already. That's going to be out later today. JC says, we have a lot of fans who have little to no ball knowledge. Not going to lie. I mean, JC, to be fair, I'm someone that's going to hold my hands up. You know, I can't say much about Hugo Ekitike because I've probably seen 4 games of his. What just annoys me, and it's so easy, obviously, to do this in a chat because sometimes you don't have a face to your profile and stuff like that. But to have strong opinions about things when you haven't truly watched a player, I think that's so unfair. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not the type of person that's gonna say, "Oh, I know everything about Hugo Ekitike. I know his stats. I know the previous clubs he's played for. I know his age." But I don't watch a lot of the Bundesliga. I just don't have time. I'm too honed in on Liverpool. But like I said, why do I think it would be a good transfer? Because like I just mentioned, Newcastle have very good recruitment, and their number one target is Hugo Ekitike. So clearly they rate him that highly because they're willing to break a club record transfer fee to get him. And not just that, like I mentioned before, Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards are some of the best in the business, and the fact they also really want him, and the fact that he's our plan B if we don't get Alexander Isak, and we know Alexander Isak is elite. He was maybe the best forward last season. He's so well-rounded as well, but the fact that he's the number 2 option tells us how good he is, you know, and they would have done their homework. Again, I trust them way more than even I trust someone who's watched maybe 25 games of Hugo Ekitike, because they have a team, a recruitment team, a scouting team that would have watched a lot of his games. Trust me, we wouldn't be throwing around these kind of funds or interested in the type of price tag that this player would cost if we weren't confident that he was a top player. You know what I mean? And that's why, you know, for people that are saying, oh, he's not that good, I'm personally not going to listen to that. You know what I mean? Because like I said, the people who are in charge know a lot more than we do. Trust me. But again, what I'm just so freaking hyped about is overall what we were saying before. We truly mean business this window, you guys. We mean business, and it is so, so exciting to, like Joseph is saying there too, can't wait for preseason and then the season on August 15th. I mean, Joseph, I was just watching, I don't know if you guys got a chance. I'm sure you did because you guys are all Liverpool fanatics. A lot of you are Liverpool fanatics in the building too, but Liverpool dropped an insider training video yesterday, and just seeing Wirtz in training, because we obviously didn't get to see him in preseason, constantly I thought to myself, have we actually signed him? You know what I mean? Like, it still doesn't feel real that we signed a player like Florian Wirtz, and I think it might not for a while, but yeah, bro, I cannot wait for preseason, and even more so for this season to kick off. Yesterday was actually exactly a month. Yesterday, right, we were July 15th. The season kicks off exactly on August 15th, and I'm so hyped too because we're going to get this season kicked off on a Friday night under the Anfield lights. Actually, wait, it'll still be summertime, so there might actually still be day because I think it kicks off at 8 p.m. UK time. But either way, it's a nighttime kickoff, so the atmosphere is going to be wild. And all Premier League fans will be watching it because it's going to be the game to kick off the Premier League, Liverpool against Bournemouth. So there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that game. So Arsenal fans, United fans, City fans, you guys can sit back and watch the likes of Florian Wirtz, Mohamed Salah hopefully put on a show at Anfield. Hopefully. Doe says, "Hi Leo, I love your content and I'm a big fan. I live and breathe Liverpool and really wanted a shout out from you ever since I've started watching you. Please, can you give me one?" Doe, shout out to you. I really appreciate your support. You'll never walk alone. Love to hear that you're a big fan of Liverpool as well. Beautiful to see. I'm an upcoming LFC content creator. LFC, shout out to you as well, who loves the videos. What are your thoughts on the Diaz situation? Guys, I want to hear, we actually haven't spoken about that on a live. What do you guys think? The source is from David Ornstein, you guys. But what do you guys make of the Luis Diaz situation? Natalia, I know, who's from Colombia, is definitely going to have a strong opinion on the Diaz situation. But what do you guys make of the Diaz situation? I'm curious to hear. So Ben Jacobs has now put out a tweet on Hugo Ekitike as well, guys. Ben Jacobs has been very reliable this window. He said Liverpool have made an approach for Hugo Ekitike, who's a leading target if Alexander Isak is not possible, as reported last week. Liverpool have approached both Newcastle and Frankfurt to understand both situations. Isak is the priority, but Liverpool will quickly proceed with Ekitike if they determine that Isak isn't possible this summer. Newcastle have had a £70 million bid for Ekitike rejected and are still trying to agree a fee. Liverpool are ready to advance on Ekitike quickly once they determine the Isak clarity, which is going to be known soon because Newcastle, Fabrizio said in the next 1 to 2 days, Newcastle will probably come back with a response to Liverpool as to whether or not they're willing to sell Isak this summer. That's the latest. That is the latest news in that regard. All right, let's see. Zach says, "I don't want a player that doesn't want to be at Liverpool. I don't get why you wouldn't want to be at Liverpool because taking all bias aside, I think they're the most exciting club to join right now. I think Barca too, to be fair, with the football they're playing, but I get what you're saying. The only thing is, for people giving Lucho hate, I'm absolutely against that. Because yes, all reliable sources are saying that he wants to leave the club, but we don't know the details inside and out. And the reason why I'm never going to turn on a player, really, unless like it's publicly known things, is because, for example, with Lucho, it could be a case of he doesn't feel valued with the wages. Again, I don't know. There's been different reports about the wages he's earning, so I don't want to give a specific number because I don't know what the actual amount is. But maybe, let's just say Lucho feels like he's not getting paid what he deserves in terms of being an important squad player for Liverpool. You saw how he was our second best attacker last season. It's been made clear that Liverpool don't want to offer him a new contract. So maybe he feels undervalued at Liverpool and that's why he wants to leave. Not because he doesn't want to play for Liverpool, but because he feels undervalued. So again, all the minor details as to what's going on behind the scenes, we don't know. So that's why I'm never going to turn on Lucho and say, oh, he just doesn't like the club and that's why he wants to leave. I think it's more complex than that. However, I agree that if he's going to be unhappy at Liverpool, maybe because, let's say, for example, we don't want to offer him a new contract, then probably it's best that we find a solution for him leaving this summer, especially given Barcelona are really interested, Bayern are really interested, Saudi are really interested. So I think we could get a major fee for him this summer, which could help us reinvest in, for example, Rodrigo that I see being in the chat by Eid Mubarak. Rodrigo is a name being mentioned. There's a lot of other options on the market. I actually did a post on Liverpool Goals yesterday where I asked everybody, who would you bring in if Lucho was to leave? And the options I put out were Rodrigo, Gordon, Fofana, Rafael Leao, Barcola, and Yildiz. So there's lots of options out there, you know what I mean? And I'm sure we're keeping tabs on all of them. The name that I've seen mentioned the most is Rodrigo. That's the name I've seen mentioned the most if Lucho was to leave. And honestly, if that were to happen, it would be incredible business from us, you know? But big up to Mr. Bomb Guy as well, who's been a community support member for 5 months, who says, does this mean Isak is staying? No, because we haven't gotten the response from Newcastle just yet. So we have to wait and see what happens with that. I think it's what I just read before. It's us having a plan B in case Newcastle say no, and using it as a power play because Ekitike is also Newcastle's top target, if that makes sense. So I think we're also using this to try to get Newcastle to be open to selling Isak this summer, if that makes sense. So I think it's a power play, but also a genuine play as a plan B if Isak doesn't happen. But again, from all the top journalists, no one has said that Newcastle have now officially put a firm no, and that Isak is happy to stay in Newcastle. That hasn't come yet. Apparently, the next 1 to 2 days, Newcastle will give out their final response, and that's what we're waiting for. So let's see what ends up happening. But either way, like I said, I think this is more of a case of Liverpool being really, really intelligent and moving quickly on the different scenarios, because initially it seemed like we weren't going to do more business until we sold the likes of Darwin, maybe Harvey, to raise funds because we just spent so much money. But the reason why I think we're now very interested in Ekitike is because we know if we don't move for Ekitike now and we can't get Isak, then Newcastle will get him. So we won't be able to sign our plan B, if that makes sense, you know? So we can't kind of risk losing out on our plan B, because clearly whatever they see in the market doesn't compare to how good Alexander Isak or Hugo Ekitike would be for Liverpool Football Club, you know? So I think it's just us being really intelligent and clearly smart with our finances in a way where even without selling Darwin first, we're able to bid for Isak and Ekitike. It just shows the position that we're in right now, the strong financial position. And that's a credit to our ownership and those behind the scenes who have managed our finances so well since the pandemic and all the losses that came during the pandemic, and how we've kind of come back from that in a strong way, you know? Charlotte, thank you very much for the super chat and your support as always, who says, we can't hate Lucho for wanting to leave because Liverpool are running his contract down, when we were rightly mad at Trent for running his contract down. Exactly. Like, that's why, exactly right, Charlotte. That's what I was saying. And not saying it's the majority, but I have seen some Liverpool fans turning on Lucho, and I just don't like it because we don't know the details, like I said. And my personal prediction is, like I said, he feels undervalued because of wage probably related concerns, you know what I mean? And the fact that Liverpool, the most reliable journalist said that Liverpool aren't interested in offering him a new contract. So I understand how that makes you feel undervalued, because listen, if Liverpool felt like Lucho is one of the best attackers in the world, then would we have any doubts about giving him an extension? Of course not. Look, we just gave Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk massive extensions, and they're way older than Lucho, you know? So I can understand why he would feel like he's deserving of a new contract as well, you know? So that's what my personal prediction is. I think it's related to that. Again, I'm not going to throw a number out because there's varied reports out there and we don't know what the official number is. But my personal prediction is he is underpaid compared to some other players in our team, if that makes sense, you know? That's just my personal thoughts. LFC, thank you very much. I'm half French, half Icelandic. This is my first stream watching live. Liverpool fan 10, welcome in the building. Where are you from? what positions can Ekitike play? He's really much better down the middle. You got to play him as a kind of false nine striker role. Ten tender, j'habite en France. Lucas says, just be real. It'll be amazing to sell Lucho for 70 million and sign Rodrigo. I mean, that's if Rodrigo becomes available. But yes, if Lucho ends up leaving for around the same money as Rodrigo, as much as I love Lucho, I do think that would be very intelligent business, because I do think Rodrigo is a bit of an underrated player, because he's among other superstars at Real Madrid. You know, and Vinny takes up so much attention. Now Mbappe takes up so much attention. There's Jude, you know, all these superstars. So I think probably he's gone under the radar, but he's definitely a top player, you know, and the fact that he kind of has been getting a lot of hate from Real Madrid fans, I think will also motivate him to prove the world wrong and prove his doubters wrong. And I think he would have a point to prove if he came to Liverpool, which I love, you know. And I've seen people being against that move because apparently he said some stuff against Salah in the past, but I'm pretty sure that's before Real Madrid faced Liverpool. So that was just to spark up kind of the rivalry and pre-match and stuff like that. I don't think he said it out of nowhere. So for those of you saying he's just disrespectful to Liverpool, again, I think that's been taken a bit out of context, you know? Long time no see, Zeleny. Nice to see you, Zel, in the building. And Ben says, what about Ibu? I think it's completely fair if he wants to leave when he's being paid less than Costas and Federico. I would pay him what he wants to keep him. Can't let him do a Trent. Completely agree, Ben. You guys know, for those of you that are OGs in the building, Ibu is one of my favorite players and at Liverpool. And I believe that, let's say, for example, he's asking for 200,000 a week. I think it's worth it. And the reason I think it's worth it is because, especially in moments where we want to play that attacking fullback pairing in Frimpong and Kirkez, we need a fast defender like Ibu, a channel defender who's very good playing that high line and running in behind. He's so good at protecting Trent over the years, and I think it would be a big loss if he left, you know? So me personally, I think it's worth giving him the money that he kind of is asking for, and then potentially letting go of, like you said, Chiesa's on big wages and Costas is on big wages. We have other players in the team that maybe we can shift on if we want to, you know, make some space basically to divvy out some wages to Ibu Konate. But yeah, I think it would be a big loss for us, you know. Trench Baby says, Leo, I've been your subscriber for like 3 years now. Thank you, bro, for the support. Whoever thought we'd go back from being rejected by Bellingham, Caicedo, and Lavia to now building a super team. Love you, Leo. You'll never walk alone. Love you too, bro. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a time to be alive. This feels like a dream state for us Liverpool fans, you know? Dream state. I see, Charlotte. Yeah, I mean, again, it's really hard to know. It's really hard to know, but again, I can understand why. Let's say it is what you're saying, between 100 to 150,000. Even if it is that, then you could say he's being underpaid because he's Liverpool's second best attacker, and Chiesa earns 150,000 a week apparently, or around that. You know, so I can understand again why he wouldn't be so happy, but also just that thing of like, if Liverpool rated him that highly, then they would want to offer him a long-term contract because they would want him to stay as long as possible. And the fact that we're not willing to do that, again, is pretty telling. You know what I mean? So, Axiti says, Lucho doesn't deserve the hate. Look at what he's getting paid. He deserves more, absolutely. Or at least, don't give a player hate when you don't know what's happening behind the scenes, if that makes sense. You know? Don't. It's the same thing with, I don't know if you guys have seen Lamine Yamal, you know, put on a big party for his 18th birthday, and he's getting so much hate online for stuff. But I just think it's crazy the amount of people that have an opinion on something when they don't know the details of what's actually gone on. You know what I mean? And it obviously happens so much in football. It happens so much. I was waiting for the new Adidas kit launch. Well, we know already what the date for that is going to be. It's going to be on August 1st, you guys. So in about 2 weeks time, basically in exactly 2 weeks time, we're going to get the Adidas kit launch, which I'm so excited about. And I think on the same day, to bring the hype up even more, they're going to announce the shirt numbers of Florian Wirtz, Kirkez, Frimpong, and our other new signings. So I cannot wait for the new kit launch as well. Trust me. Alpha says, Leo, will Chiesa leave? As an Italian, I want him to either start every game at Liverpool or want him to leave to another club. I think there's a good chance he could end up staying now because it looks like there's going to be a lot of movement within our other positions. And because he brings versatility in the attack, I think Slot might want to keep hold of him, So let's see. Let's see what ends up happening. But initially, I thought he was sure to leave this summer. And now in more recent times, I think there's a bigger chance that he stays. Foot X says, I feel bad for Chiesa. I always thought he was world class. In my opinion, he's better than Diaz in his heyday. I mean, the thing is, the fact Slot barely played him is pretty telling. But yeah, I agree. I felt like every time he did play, he impressed. That's what confuses me. I think all of us felt that way every time we watched him for Liverpool, even though it was very limited to how much we got to watch him. Do you see the mural that was built for Jota? Yes, there were 2 of them. 2 have been made already. That are so beautiful. What do you think of the rumors that we'll sign Marcus Rashford as Ashwini? No chance that happens. Don't you worry. No chance we consider Rashford. Don't you worry about that, you guys. Do not worry about that. Seriously. Flame says, I think this season the Premier League will be crazy. Look at all the signings the top 6 are doing except United. It's going to be crazy. King Burger says, thoughts on Ekitike's price, Leo? I think it's very expensive. I do think it's very expensive. But the problem is the striker market this summer is so difficult. It's really difficult. In hindsight, I kind of wonder why we didn't go more for João Pedro. I know it's only been 2 games, but look at the impact João Pedro has had at Chelsea since he signed. He literally just joined them at the Club World Cup and helped them get that trophy over the line, which basically almost paid for his transfer fee. But yeah, the one I'm a bit confused about is it wasn't that big of a fee. I think João Pedro joined Chelsea for like £52 million, if I'm not mistaken, from Brighton. So that's the only one where in hindsight, I'm a little bit like, how come we didn't try for that a little bit more? Because of how much he's impressed since he's been at Chelsea. But we would have done our homework on him. So there's a reason why we didn't go for him. You know what I mean? We would have been aware. And we had been linked with him a little bit, Leo, what's up? Who would you rather, Isak or Ekitike? Obviously Isak, bro. Come on. But we're talking about almost double the fee. Not double, but a lot more money. I think Isak would probably cost 40 to 50 million pounds more. So it's very hard to compare the two. You know what I mean? One is ready-made and one is more project with so much ability. But Mateta, nah, Zell, I'm not about Mateta because I think if it's really Crystal Palace are a difficult club to buy from, as you can see with the Mark Gahey signing, like that's really slowed down. And I think one of the reasons why we haven't advanced in the Mark Gahey kind of transfer is because of how difficult it is to deal with Crystal Palace as a club. There's no way they would sell Mateta for anything less than probably 40 to 50 million. And I think that's way too much to pay for, I think he's 28. Way too much to pay for a player who I don't think would be our starting striker right away. So Tommy, yes, Tommy, nice to see you in the building as well. How are you? What's poppin', bro? Gavi, positive vibes in the building because Liverpool are making big moves this summer. Big moves this summer. Do you think we'll get Rodrigo, Leo? If we get him, we'll become even better than we currently are, but I will stay humble. Do I think we get Rodrigo? I think if we sell Lucho, and we would only sell Lucho for a significant fee, but I could see it happening because like I mentioned previously, Barca really want him, Bayern really want him, Saudi really want him, then I think we could use that money for Rodrigo, yes, because Edwards has been a long admirer of his. I think he's been watching that player for many, many years, And it seems like Real Madrid are open to selling him this summer. You know, he didn't start under Xabi Alonso much at the Club World Cup. That's probably a sign that he could be leaving, you know. So, yeah, I do think if Lucho left, Rodrigo's probably the player we would bring in. And I think what they probably love about Rodrigo is that when Salah goes off to AFCON, he could start on the right wing. That's the position he plays for Real Madrid, you know. So, yeah, I think we would probably try to go for it. Brawl Lover says, you gave me an idea for my video. Thank you very much, mate. Ooh, what is it? Can you do a Prem predictions video? Theo, that could be fun, but I only do that once we know what teams make what signings. You know what I mean? Because there's still so much left to go in this transfer window. Soul Sniper says, it's been a long time, friend. Yes, how are you? Did you see the EAFC cover, the Ibra one? I saw the Ibrahimovic one. Thoughts on Gehi? Like I said, Crystal Palace are a very difficult club to deal with. And I probably think the reason why that deal hasn't advanced is because it seems like they're asking for way too much for him. The reports I've seen say that Crystal Palace want 40 to 45 million pounds for him, even though he has 1 year left. So I think the only way we get Gehi then is if he runs down his contract and we get him on a free next summer. You know what I mean? Song idea for your video? What song idea? I miss training to watch you. Big up, Gamer Joe. Where are you based, by the way? Where do you live? Harry, I don't think it's the most unpopular thing. I've seen quite a few people say, even though they obviously like Isak, that it's too much money to be paying for one player when we've already signed Wirtz. So the fact you're saying you want Ekitike because you like his dribbling and flair and that he's younger and everything else, I think can be a fair point, not again to compare them, but because it would be very different. Like I said, Ekitike would cost 40 to 50 million pounds less. He's younger and he has a lot of, ability, still raw ability. And he did prove that he's a goal scorer last season, so he had more goal contribution than Wirtz, for example, in the Bundesliga. So, yeah, I would be very happy, like I said, if it was him, and even if we didn't get Isak. Obviously, I would prefer Isak, but like I told you guys, I would be happy with Ekitike as well, because of how crazy we've been this window already. Oxford, nice to see you in the building. Yeah, I think a lot of us within the Liverpool community took a break after, the tragedy that happened with Diogo and his brother. But, I think with that preseason game and the fact that Liverpool fans got to come together and have that tribute and sing his song and everything else, like I think it's important for a lot of us also to feel like we can go to some kind of norm, obviously always having him in mind, but speaking about Liverpool in the way that we're all so passionate, and the fact that for so much of us it is that kind of escape from the bigger problems in the world, and for us to be able to spread positivity through that, I think is so important, doing it obviously in such a sensitive way. I'm staying up till 3 to watch you. Big up, Vetri. Now, Osimhen is going to Turkey, bro. He's going to Turkey. Oxford, how did you do on your exams? How did you do? Edwards and Hughes are playing 4D chess with Newcastle. Yeah. Leo, I really want Isak personally. I mean, Amini, who wouldn't want Newcastle? Let's be real. Yeah, the Gehi deal looks complicated. And Inacio, I don't know. I'm not that convinced with Inacio, I gotta be honest. From what I've heard. Again, I haven't watched him enough to have a true opinion. By the way, I want to check. I asked you guys, who do you think will sign? Over 2,200 of you guys have voted so far. 67% of you guys are confident that we're actually going to sign Isak. 33% of you guys say Ekitike. So that's very interesting to hear. Very interesting. Frederick, thank you very much. I'm doing well. How are you? I appreciate you. How would you feel if we got Cisco for Hugo or Isak's backup? Nah, bro, he would cost way too much. Benjamin Cisco, apparently, they're not willing to let him go for anything less than 80 million. So there's no way we spend 80 million on a player to just be backup. There's no way that happens, even though he's definitely a top talent. I just don't see a world where that happens. I really don't. Who's the replacement if we don't get Gehi? It seems like Jorel Hato is not possible either. I saw some reports saying that Johnny Heitinga, our former assistant manager, who's now the boss at Ajax, will definitely wants to keep Jorel Hato at the club this season. He doesn't want to lose him. So it doesn't look like Ajax are open to selling him. So I don't think that's happening. Gehi looks like could be a difficult one to get over the line. I'm not sure, honestly. I'm not so sure. I think we need one more center back. I agree. I'm not so sure who that could be, though. Big up, we got a red from Kazakhstan. Nice to see you in the building. Yo, Dean Hayes, nice to see you in the building. How are you? Do you see Van de Ven playing for Liverpool? I think Spurs would ask for crazy money. I don't see that happening. I don't. I really don't see that one happening. I think we should go all in for Ibu to sign a new contract. Avi, I said that too. I agree. I think we can't. We have to do everything we can. We gotta. Farhan says, Leo, who do you think is better, Musiala, Verts, or Cole Palmer? It's hard to compare those. Even Musiala and Verts, bro, I think that you can put them on par. They're that good, both of them. They're incredible, the two of them. And then Cole Palmer, look what he just did in the Club World Cup final. So it's too hard to compare those. They're all incredible. They're all incredible in their own right. When are we pushing for the 1 million subscribers, gang? That's going to take years, I think. But hopefully one day it would be special to get there one day. Why not dream? You got to have crazy dreams sometimes. Big up, Poppy. Thank you for the support. You'll never walk alone from Ireland. Big up, LFC. I appreciate the support. Leo, I'm from England, and it was a one-off training. Oh, okay. Cool. I think Newcastle fans aren't happy with us, though. Because it truly, like what we've done is truly gone to Newcastle and said, give us Alexander Isak, your star, or we'll take Hugo Ekitike, who's their number one transfer target in the summer. So they're probably not happy, but it just shows how serious of a club we are this summer. We're a really serious club this summer. With the way we're moving, we might even approach Bastoni. Yeah, bro, I know, right? That would be crazy. Crazy, crazy. Yes, Footslob, what's good? You'll never walk alone from Egypt. Thoughts on Joe Gomez? It seems like he could actually end up staying. Do you think if there wasn't a huge striker demand, we would be able to get Isak for less than Verts? No, Theo. I think the fee that it seems like it would take to sign Alexander Isak, I think is totally fair. Like if you watch Alexander Isak as a striker, he has it all. Like he has such a great goal scoring record for Newcastle, and yet when you look at his play, like again, I don't like to draw comparisons, but for me, he has the flair of Thierry Henry. He has that, like the way his link up play, his movement, he's such an unpredictable player. For me, he's worth a record fee. You talk about record fee players. I don't think Isak is just worth that fee because of how competitive the striker market has been this summer. I truly think he's a standout. I don't think you can compare him to any striker in the league. And I know people will say Erling Haaland, but me personally, I would rather have Alexander Isak in my team than Erling Haaland because Alexander Isak is a lot more complete, I think. Like, for example, Erling Haaland, if there's a game where he doesn't score, I don't think he brings you that much to the team. I know he brings the threat, but I think Alexander Isak brings so much more than just the goals. Like again, in his overall play, and that's why I definitely think he's worth a record fee. No matter whether it was this summer, last summer, next summer, he's that good. You know what I mean? Charlotte, thank you again for the super chat. Who says I reckon you could get to half a million subscribers if you did some general Premier League news vids that are 5 to 10 minutes, as well as 5 to 10 minutes of Liverpool update vids. Charlotte, I gotta start doing that. You're so right. I don't know about getting to that number. That's too crazy. Half a million. But I agree. I gotta start doing more of those long forms. It's just like I'm so not used to doing them that it feels scary. But at the same time, at some point, I wasn't used to doing live streams and I wasn't used to doing short form. So I got at some point. Hopefully, I find the courage to do it this summer to just start doing it. Because like you say, I got to start doing long form, and I think it would be a lot of fun as well. But Charlotte, as always, thank you for the support. You're the best. Johnny's in the building, my brother. Johnny says, if we sign either, does this mean Darwin definitely leaves? Also, hey, Leo. Hey, my brother. Does it? I think Darwin's leaving no matter what. I think Darwin leaves no matter what because I think he's at this stage of his career where he wants to start week in, week out for whatever club he's playing for. I think there's a lot of clubs that are interested in him. And I think Slot doesn't want to keep around a player who's not going to be happy to be a squad player, if that makes sense. And it's clear to see that Slot doesn't see him as a starter. Otherwise, he would have started him when we had won the league already, So I definitely think Darwin leaves. And that's actually the next video that I had prepared that's coming out is around Darwin and saying that he's going to leave. And my personal prediction is that he's going to end up in Saudi. Why? Because the Napoli interest fell through. They're going to sign the striker Luka. The here we go's already come for Luka. So they're not going to be going for Darwin anymore. And Saudi showed that they're willing to spend big money in January for Darwin. They just let go of John Duran. So I think they could go for Darwin, Saudi, and we would be happy because we would get the fee back for him and they could pay more money than Napoli did. So I think definitely I see Darwin leaving, and my personal prediction, is that he'll end up in Saudi. And I think he probably won't be complaining about crazy wages either, because Absolute Mueller, nice to see you in the building. Yes, bro, that's what I want to start doing. Absolute Mueller. I'm going to DM you, my brother, because it would be great to cut up some clips from the YouTube live streams, because the quality is better on here than it is on TikTok. And we could do some clips of that, Love from Italy, bro. I was just in Italy. I was just in San Remo in the north. Where are you from? Thank you for the support, bro. Love from Argentina. Big up, Ariel. Bro, my dream is to visit Argentina one day because I don't know if you know this reputation, but French people love Argentina. They love Buenos Aires because like apparently it's just the best vibes in Argentina. So I would love to visit one day. It's one of my bucket list dreams. Nelly, thank you very much for the support. We got a City fan in the building. Leo, don't you think we need a center back before a striker? Shukla, I would say yes, but like I was saying before, I think the way that we recruit is we're not just going to sign a player for the sake of signing that player. I think the way we move is we only will sign players that will truly improve our squad. And the reason why I think we're moving forward right now with Isak and Ekitike, like I was saying before we even sold Darwin, is because we know that they're the standout talents in the market. And if we don't get one of those two, then we really wouldn't be happy with plan C, basically, you know? And that's why I think we've moved forward with the strikers first, even though it seemed like before we were going to sign a center back first, you know? Arun says, love from Los Angeles. Big up. It must be early for you, right? It must be early. Aiden says, Leo, do you also have a normal job or only YouTube and Instagram? I do bits and pieces, so more freelance jobs, but recently I'm pretty much doing just YouTube and Instagram full time. And it's pretty intense between the two because for those of you that don't know, I run the Instagram called Liverpool Goals, so that also is a lot of work because there's a lot of posts that go out on Liverpool Goals every day, you know, and that's something I've done every single day for many, many years. So it's constant, you know what I mean? There's never any days off from that, but I wouldn't call it a job, that's for sure, because of how much I love doing it, you know? But love from Ghana, I met Doku. Bro, I saw that Jeremy Doku was in Ghana. Big up. I saw that. What do you think about the Club World Cup final? I didn't even watch it. To be honest, I wasn't really into the Club World Cup. But I think Chelsea look like a serious prospect. And yeah, I think next season they could be a team to look out for. You know, they've really strengthened this window. And Joao Pedro, I was mentioning him before, he looks like a baller. And before, for many years, it seemed like they didn't have a proper striker. He could be the one. You know, he could be the one that comes in and is top tier for them, you know, and he's proven already at the Club World Cup how much of a difference maker he can be. So yeah, Chelsea is definitely a team to look out for, but it seems like either way, look, City made big moves this summer. They're going to have Rodri back. They're going to have a fully fit Erling Haaland beginning of the season. Arsenal looks like they're going to sign Gyökeres. They signed Zubimendi. They're also making moves. So yeah, the Premier League next season is going to be more competitive than ever. But what's for sure is this summer we can't say that Liverpool haven't been serious in the window either, you know? So we're going to be even stronger next season. We will be. Henrik, thank you very much for the super chat, who says, how do you think Wirtz will do in his first Premier League season for Liverpool? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I would rather give an opinion on that after seeing him for a month. But I'm confident that he's going to be a success for Liverpool. And one of the reasons why I'm confident and why I love the signing is even though he's very young and there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders because it is a record transfer fee and he's only 22 years old, I love the fact that he's come in when we still have Mohamed Salah. And the reason I say that is because I think going into this season, all the pressure isn't going to be on his shoulders. It's not like certain other record signings I've seen in the past. Like, for example, when Mbappe signed for Real Madrid, there was the expectation that right away he would be the best player in the world. And right away he would win Real Madrid everything. That's a lot of pressure when you just join a club and you're getting used to a new country, new league, new everything. Whereas I think the great news for Florian Wirtz that will help him is the fact that coming in, he's not even expected to be the best player for Liverpool because Mohamed Salah is there. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to help him a lot for Salah to still be the main man so that he can kind of, in a more low-key, not obviously that low-key because like I said, he's a record signing, but in a more low-key way, integrate and get used to the league, get used to the country, everything else. I think that's going to help him in a major way, you know, because in another world, let's say he joined a Liverpool team that was really struggling and we signed him to try to turn things around for Liverpool, that would be major pressure, because then you could say that, for example, it's expected that he's going to make us win trophies. Whereas right now we are winning trophies and we have the stars. He's kind of the cherry on top. And I think that's really great. Really great for him. Dean says Verts looks so happy with Frimpong on the training ground. I saw that too. It got me so excited for this season. So excited even for our next preseason game, which is against AC Milan as well, which should be an interesting one. And Verts will get Isak too. Oh, bro. Imagine. I'm too excited for this season. I can't. Guys, I can't. I'm too excited for this season. I'm going to need to calm down. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jayden Dance too. He's back fit and he was in training yesterday, you guys. I saw photos of him in training. So that's a really great news. Jayden Dance, I hope he gets opportunities next season, just like Rio Enma, who was so impressed, who really impressed in that first half against Preston. I want to see Jayden Dance get opportunities this season because I'm a big fan of his. He truly is the definition of natural finisher. Tristan Man City fan, I'm live on YouTube. It's called, if you just look up Leo's Goals on YouTube, you'll be able to join the chat. Dan should stay. I would love him to stay, bro. I'm a big fan of his. Every time he's played, for me, every time he's played, I've just thought, I want him to get another opportunity, because he seems like that type of player who won't shy away from the big occasion, even though obviously playing for Liverpool comes with a lot of pressure. He seems like he thrives on that pressure, and that's, for a young player, it shows that he has something special, Yo, Leo, what's good? How was your day? Liverpool fan, it's been good. I'm back home, but I'm going actually to Iceland tomorrow. But no, it's been a calm day. How about you, bro? Johnny says, I'm not used to going into a season hyped up thinking we'll actually win it. It's just a mindset I've been used to with City always dominating, but I feel excited for this one. I think excited is an understatement. Johnny, I think when it'll be like a week till kickoff on the dance floor, yeah. When there'll be like a week to kick off for that Bournemouth game, for, the Friday night game, the kickoff, I think I'm not even going to be able to sleep. I'm going to be so excited, especially if we get Hugo Ekitike or Isak to add on to the other signings we've already made. Bro, I'm not going to be able to handle the levels of excitement for next season. Like, I'm going to be like a little kid, and that's what I love about football. And that's why I think we love football so much, and that I'm never going to change on this channel for that reason. I think it's all about emotion. And I think football is the best reminder in life, because I think football has its ups and downs, but through it all, I think we just have to feel those emotions, and we come together in feeling those emotions. But I think that's what's so beautiful. I think as adults, we have more and more responsibilities, so we lose kind of our childlike selves. But I think through football, we're able to just dream in a way that maybe we don't get to dream through our work, or, different issues we have like in life as we grow older, and like I said, have more responsibilities. But I just think that buzz that you have as a fan of a team, there's nothing quite like it. And we just got to cherish these times, you guys, because in my lifetime of supporting Liverpool, I've never seen us move like this in a transfer window. So you best believe I'm only going to be good vibes, because if we're not good vibes now, then I don't know when we would be. You know what I mean? I don't know when we would be. But yeah, you guys, unfortunately, on that note, I'm going to have to go. It's almost 6 p.m. here in France, but I appreciate all of you guys in the building, and I'm sure we're going to be back together in the building very, very soon, because it seems like we're moving. We're still moving in this window, and so I'm sure there's going to be more news to come and more things for us to discuss, but it's looking good, you guys. We mean business is the main thing. And yeah, so guys, I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. And as always, thank you for your support, and I will see you very, very soon. You'll never walk alone, guys.